Wake up to an omelet with melty cheese, crispy bacon, and on a made-from-scratch biscuit or soft tortilla. Spice up your breakfast. The Southwest Omelet Biscuit and Burrito are back at Hardee's. Feed your happy.
We tried one actual case before,
nor have the number of deaths. Cases are on the rise in 32 states right now. Trump made a point of showing the nation that he remains engaged in the pandemic fight, sending up, emphasizing how well he thinks his administration is doing.
We're putting out embers, we're putting out flames. We've also dramatically accelerated the availability of plasma therapies, steroid treatments, antivirals, and other therapies to treat the illness. Since March 12th, we've increased daily testing by 32,000%. We do more testing than anybody in the world.
Without sacrificing your lifestyle.
But the comments that have gotten everybody's attention are...
Doesn't mean we aren't doing everything we can. It's under control as much as you can control it. This is a horrible plague that beset us.
You really think this is as much as we can control?
Well, I'll tell you, I'd like to know if somebody... First of all, we have done a great world. Lower than
What is that?
Europe.
In what?
Look,
In what?
take a look. Right here. Here's case death.
Oh, you're doing death as a proportion of cases. I'm talking about death as a proportion of population. That's where the US is really bad.
Well,
Much worse than South Korea, Germany, etc.
you can't do that. You have to go by where. Look, here is the United States. You have to go by the cases.
Now, a chart created from the findings from the folks at Johns Hopkins gives us not improving.
We've lost 160,000 people. We're going to lose more.
Two developments reported by the Washington Post also giving us clues as to the state of things. 7 governors have now banded together to pressure biotech companies into ramping up production of rapid detection COVID testing. And Dr. Birx has privately come out against Trump's push to reopen schools because of the current outbreaks across. He revised his effort to discredit voting by mail, posting this, and we quote, "Whether you call it vote by mail or absentee voting in Florida, the
students can access printers, paper, and reliable internet at the Monrovia and Madison Crossroads centers. There will also be hot spots in the parking lot, so you can actually park and do your work there. But keep this in mind, if you have a child or a student under the age of 16, they need to come to the community center with a chaperone. The Alabama Department of Public Health just released a toolkit advising school leaders on how to stop the spread of COVID-19 inside schools. With hundreds of thousands of students, the state health officer says one thing is for sure.
There are going to be thousands of kids who are going to be positive on the first day of school.
We need the students to stay as static as possible throughout the day.
If you're consistent with the same seating and the same people in the same area, yes ma'am, it makes it a lot easier to do the information gathering.
All right, so one of the suggestions include having seating charts on buses and in the classroom. Health officials say if a student was less than 6 feet away from someone who had the virus for more than 15 minutes, that student should be sent home to quarantine for 14 days. Now to a scam targeting parents of students in DeKalb County. The county superintendent says someone is calling around asking you if you want software installation on your child's devices or offering technical support. The person claims to work with the Board of Education. Not so. So Superintendent Jason Barnett immediately contacted their property because they don't say listen to the household.
I think they alerted their deputies in different municipalities around the area, and they kind of kept an eye on things. And eventually they did talk to an individual, I believe, that they weren't sure if it was connected, but was at least going door to door.
All right, so spread the word. With schools starting back next week with remote and on-campus learning, Barnett says he's concerned that whoever is responsible for making these calls may try to take advantage of parents. The sheriff's office reports deputies are investigating. They just didn't elaborate. Another kind of scam, this one targeting your front porches and your mailboxes. Madison police say they're getting complaints about a brushing scam. So that's when businesses send inexpensive, lightweight packages and use your information to create fake reviews of products. Here's what they say you should do if you receive an unsolicited package. Contact the seller. If it's from outside the U.S. or has agricultural products, contact the USDA.
North Alabama's most accurate weather team. Now, your first alert weather with Chief Meteorologist Brad Travis.
And that front slowly continues to move in from the north. Still 74 degrees here. A live look from Huntsville on 565 from the U.S. Space and Rocket Center. No more rain expected tonight. It is all gone. It is pushed off to the east. But as this boundary slowly approaches, it's going to stall out a bit in a few areas tomorrow, and that's why we've got a 20% chance tomorrow. But for tonight, all the rain is now into North Georgia and spotty at best. Here's the history of Isaias, and it is gone. It is no longer a tropical system, and it's gone what we call extratropical. Caused a lot of problems along this track, this line. A lot of tornadoes today in places they don't normally see tornadoes. And here's that path it took as it started moving about 45 miles per hour, racing across parts of New York. And it's a good thing it started moving quick. Therefore, it kind of eliminated some of the flooding threat. However, it brought that severe weather and the wind. Around here, we did have some thunderstorms this afternoon, but things have quieted down. And one of those thunderstorms east of Moulton. Got this photo today. We had a microburst out there. I'm going to explain what happened in just a second. You can see this is the same area, but two different pictures. This shows the power pole split here, and off in the distance you can see a building. I looked at some other pictures. Building under construction, so I think the walls were still down, so the roof was exposed. So likely a 50 to 60 mile per hour wind. But what was happening with this storm as it was moving east of Moulton, we started to see this pattern here. Now this isn't towards and away from the radar as you typically look at for tornadoes, but these winds were actually going away from each other. And right here is Moulton. This is about 9 miles east of Moulton, so the wind just went completely straight down.
In addition to people who passed away, there are the families who were left behind without them. There are people who have been sick and didn't die but suffered and didn't help himself, I think, with that interview.
Alexi, we all have our burdens. You guys, of course, at Axios have to now live with Jonathan Swan. I grew up in New Jersey where a local axiom all my life was, it is what it is. And now that axiom has gone global. To Peter's point, though, the part of Jonathan's interview that will live in perpetuity now has the president summing it up using that phrase.
Public kudos to my colleague Jonathan Swan, who, it's just a case study in how to interview the president. But, that was a really damning line from the president himself that really kind of reinforces not just the way that Democrats have been trying to characterize how the president has been mishandling, they say, the coronavirus, but what Americans around the country have been watching and sort of getting glimpses of from his daily coronavirus briefings, but now hear from himself this sort of complacency that, to Peter's point, he's not really showing any sort of human empathy about the human death toll and cost of lives that has been caused because of this pandemic. It's not only being turned into ads, but, that's something that people are going to think about when they also hear President Trump saying the toll that this virus has taken and how Americans are feeling, which is really scared heading into this election and into the fall when we're expected to have a second wave while we're not even done with this first wave.
Aaron, you've covered the intersection of politics and society for a long time. The president seemed to be saying today, mail-in balloting is good as long as it's in Florida, where he mails his vote in, especially if it's absentee and not called anything else. But Aaron...
I think that's right, Brian, and thank you for your kind words about our launch. I think it was interesting. He was holding up Florida. I don't think that those of us who have covered, presidential cycles in years past really think of Florida when we think of smooth elections. And so holding them up as kind of the beacon for a smooth elections process, I think, again, speaks to raising the specter around voter fraud or somehow a corrupt process to around.
To give you the area's most accurate weather information and how we keep you safe when weather is at its worst.